What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel for episode 4 of my fundamentals series. So now that we have the basics of hypertrophy, nutrition, and supplements covered, let's get the most out of our training by talking about recovery. We're going to discuss a couple of the key factors that aid in better recovery, making sure you're getting the best results out of your training. So let's get into it. Let's talk about your post-workout nutrition and what a meal should look like for you after you just finished a hard session in the gym. Ideally, for muscle building, our macros are going to want to look something like this: 0.5 gram per kilogram of body weight in protein, 1 to 1.5 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight in protein, and 0 to 20 grams of fat. Now this is all dependent and individual to each person, what their current diet is, whether they're trying to lose fat, gain muscle, what their priorities are, and what their goals are. So for someone trying to lose weight and that does not have a lot of fat content for their entire day to eat, I would recommend staying closer to that 0 grams of fat. I personally do like to stay closer to that 0 end, just so that my nutrients and protein are absorbed a little bit quicker, because fat slows down the digestion of other macros. Also, this is optimal macronutrients, but if you find it hard that you're not hitting enough protein, I would add some protein to your post-workout meal. Or if you find you're coming up short on your carbs and you're most hungry after you train, feel free to increase that a little bit, but these are optimal for any intermediate or advanced level lifters. Beginners, as long as you're hitting somewhere around your macros, it doesn't really much matter because you're going to get the results anyway. So let's talk about the anabolic window. Most people think, oh, I need to get in as much protein as possible right when I finish my last set in the gym. And you'll see people bring shaker cups with their protein to the gym just to get it in as soon as possible. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting in protein right after you work out, let me say that first. But as long as you're eating within 4 to 5 hours of your last meal, the anabolic window doesn't really matter. So as long as your body's not going into a fasted state after your training, we're going to be able to start muscle protein synthesis right away once we get that food in. So now let's talk about our sleep. How much sleep do we really need? You want to aim to average 8 hours of sleep per night. This doesn't mean that you have to get 8 hours every single night, especially with some people's work schedules or just life gets in the way sometimes. If you only get 6 hours one night, try to get a little bit extra the next night and average it back to that 8 hours of sleep. I do suggest trying to get to sleep around the same time every single day and wake up around the same time every day. This is going to keep our body's circadian rhythm at optimal function, just because it knows when it's going to bed and when it's waking up. So what this will do is help regulate our bodily functions such as our metabolism and keep our body happy at homeostasis throughout the entire day. So why is sleep so important for muscle building? While we're sleeping, this is the time where we are going to grow. We release our growth hormone when we're in REM sleep, and we also release our protein building amino acids into our bloodstream in order to build muscle. So we're really not growing while we're training, we are growing while we're recovering and sleeping. When you're not training, what should you be doing? We call this active recovery. So what is active recovery? This is light exercise or movement when we're not actually training in a gym or running. So best activities to do are walk, light bike rides, mobility work, foam rolling. So what does all of this kind of stuff do when we're not in the gym? This is going to help us process lactate through the Krebs cycle, which is going to make us feel a little bit less sore. It is also going to increase blood flow to our muscles and remove any toxins from our body that we built up during exercise. It also activates key stabilizing muscles, releases muscle tension, and helps your whole body just reset. If you ever notice that when you just sit around for an entire day after training, you feel really tight and tense. But the minute you go for a 20-minute walk, your muscles start to loosen up, or the next morning after you sleep and wake up and you go for a 20-minute walk, you start to loosen up, or the same reason we warm up before training. This is because getting our body moving and promoting blood flow to all of our sore muscles is going to help our tissues heal and help them be ready to train in the future again. So if it's a rest day for you, these are some great things that you should be doing when you're not actually training that'll help you recover and optimize your training the next day. If we train squatting every single day without taking a day in between or a couple days in between, why wouldn't we get stronger than if we squatted twice a week and had a day of rest or 2 days of rest in between sessions? That brings me to talking about rest days. So, what is a rest day? A rest day can consist of some active recovery and just allowing your body to rest and reduce fatigue. This is going to allow our muscles to replenish glycogen stores and start to repair. So during training, we're actually creating microscopic tears in our muscle cells, and we need to allow fibroblasts the time that they need to repair it when we're not training. So days that we're not training are when we're actually gaining muscle and growing if we're sore from the day before, or if we had a hard session the day before. This is also going to allow us to prepare to push our next session as hard as we can. So think about it like this. If you went in the gym every day and squatted for an entire week, by the end of the week, why would you need to squat less weight? Just because you're sore and your muscles aren't prepared to take on that training load. We'd be much better off cutting that back and having more volume on day 1 and day 4 and pushing those sets closer to failure rather than spreading it out throughout the entire week. This is why we need rest days in our program. Are your muscles still sore when you're trying to train them again? So you want to split your training in order that muscle groups are not trained when they are sore. What this means is if you're squatting on Monday, you're not squatting on Tuesday, you may squat again on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. This way we're ready to push our sets close to failure, and we can have more effective sets rather than having what I like to call junk volume that we're just going through the motions. So you can also ask yourself, do you feel mentally ready to train again? Prolonged systemic fatigue can cause us to lack motivation for training. So if you're dreading your workouts and you just feel down and you're just overall tired throughout your day, it might be time to take a step back and add in a rest day. So that leads us to, can you have too much recovery? If you space out your training too much, it's going to be hard to gain muscle. Ideally, we want to stimulate every muscle group 2 to 3 times a week for optimal results. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope after today you can master your recovery and get the best results you possibly can in your training. So be sure to tune in next week. I'm also going to be starting my Athletes Corner, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit more of a look at how I train personally. But that's it for today's video. Please like, subscribe, leave comments, and let me know what you guys want to see in future videos. Thanks for watching. See you next week.